Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to talk to you guys about something that's actually starting to become more unpopular again, and that's the idea of doing the basics in the gym. So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on skill on my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. And I've seen a few different YouTubers and fitness YouTube discuss this sort of stuff lately in passing here and there. Obviously you got Strap-On Destiny who's like, I don't do conventional training, which is absurd. And then you even had Cali Muscle saying, we don't do basic stuff in here. And it's like people are taking the word basic because of the cultural phenomenon around the word basic. Things like basic bitches, basic bros, all of that. And they almost want to make it a bad thing, as if basic styles of training or conventional styles of training, if there's something wrong with them. And, oh, if you just do that, you're going to get average results. And here's the absurdity with that. Things that are basic exercises and basic training protocols, they're basic because they work. They're basic because they work, because they're time proven. In other words, when various training styles and protocols and methods have successfully taken high school football players and taken them all the way to the NFL for decades, and have taken 1,000 athletes into the NFL, probably a reason for it. Probably because it's pretty good. Basic training has helped people go to the national level in powerlifting or build massive, powerful physiques. There's a reason these exercises and protocols are selected. They're basic because they work. They're basic because they work. If they didn't work, they wouldn't have been adopted for so long. We started seeing a lot more experimentation with training come over into the bodybuilding world that isn't necessarily supported in the science world, the sports world, anything else. And people need to understand a lot of these protocols that people do have to do with the fact that they use massive amounts of drugs. They abuse a lot of drugs, and therefore it gave them a lot of leeway, a lot of wiggle room. And the thing is, what you might find is that a training protocol that came out of the bodybuilding world might not even make you as big as you think it's going to make you, that some pro bodybuilder used, if you're not using the drugs that they're using, or you don't have their genetics. And that's another thing that people need to factor in. Oftentimes people say, well, this guy does basic training and he doesn't look as good as I want to look, or doesn't look how I want to look. But then you're using your standard based upon a guy who's reasonably genetically gifted and maybe using 2 or 3 different anabolics. What you have to factor in is that oftentimes the way a person's body looks might actually have more to do with their genetics and the drugs that they use than the actual training protocols that they're using in the gym. All right, and what you need to consider is that there could actually be better training protocols even for that person. They might actually, because of their drugs and genetics, might have even gotten better results had they done something more proven and more effective. But that's what it comes down to. People always want to try trendy new things. You know why that is? So that they can market it. In other words, we've had plenty of programs that have put tons of size and strength on hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of young men over the years. But you know what? If you just throw those few routines and few protocols out there, because they were all going all the way back to the 50s and 60s. I mean, let's be honest here. The average drug-free guy looking at someone like Steve Reeves, who was big, lean, strong, aesthetic, that's probably about the best you can hope to achieve. He did all that off just basic training. 3-day-a-week full body, mostly basic exercises, a few isolation movements thrown in to balance things out. Did pretty good. The basics are the basics because they work and they're time proven. People can't market that though, because if you have, again, some basic programs and you realize, wow, a person might only need 2 or 3 different routines for their entire life, how can you sell that? How can you promote that? That's the problem we run into. How many magazine articles can you write about that? You can't. They got to change it up. How many YouTube videos can you make showing the same routine over and over? No, they've got to change it up to keep people buying products, to keep people interested. But the reality is the marketing end of it really good for you personally? Is it helping your gains? Are you going to make better gains because of people's clever marketing? I'm going to say no, you're not. In fact, you might make worse gains. You might make worse gains, but you know what? When you don't get the gains that you want, that's okay. They got a product to sell you. And that's the other interesting end for all these people who promote things outside of the basics, when 99% of people will never, ever, ever need anything but the basics. All right, the majority of you will never need anything but the basics. And you probably need to return back to it if you're not happy with the results you're getting right now. But that's the thing. People are always trying to sell products. They're trying to sell programs, right? Because basic programs are already free. They're out there already, so you can't sell those. So people need to make up new stuff to sell programs. And then when you don't get all the desired results, that's where the industry swoops in and says, that's okay, we have other products to help you. We have other products to help you. If you want to get better gains if this program's not working, we've got a pre-workout for you to help you train harder. And that's a big part of it. Yeah, they have people do workouts and workloads that aren't balanced correctly in terms of your recovery and energy, so that you need a pick-me-up to get you through the next workout. Why? Because you didn't follow a proven protocol that balances your recovery workout so that you should be motivated to train, that everything should be good, that you should have good energy during your next workout. In other words, you should be able to hit all the numbers and lifts workout to workout that was written into your program already. If it was a good program, right? If it was a good, well-written basic program, that shouldn't be a problem. But when people don't follow those and they follow something else, something different, and it doesn't properly balance their recovery curve, they need that little pick-me-up. They need a pre-workout. Same thing, post-workout shakes. Again, try to help you recover, to gain more muscle. And that's what this all comes down to. A lot of it comes down to just selling people products that they don't need. Again, you create a problem that doesn't need to exist. In other words, people come up with new training methods and unorthodox training methods and try to make them orthodox, and they actually have become orthodox at this point, which is scary. And then try to sell you products to help you with your muscle gains, your recovery, glycogen replenishment, energy to train, everything else, because they use programs that don't already account for that, and they make it harder to do it. And so then they have products to sell you to fix the problems that they created with the bad training. It's an interesting strategy, and it works. And if you don't believe it works, look how many people out there are paying for programs. Look how many people are on programs full of non-basic mumbo-jumbo that probably isn't doing that much for them other than just beating up their connective tissue, fatiguing them, but probably not adding much real muscle to them. And then all these products that they buy, that they've been marketed. How many hundreds of thousands of people buy all these worthless pills and powders? Not necessary. But when you step away from basic proven training protocols, it becomes a lot easier to market this stuff, because people start having recovery problems. They start stalling more. They make less gains. They overtrain easier. They struggle to have energy to complete their workouts. Well, it's because they're not following good programs and probably just not eating good food or enough decent food. Had people just stuck to the basics, they probably would be gaining the maximum amount of muscle and strength that they could realistically gain, and probably wouldn't have ever needed to resort to any of these products. But again, they can pump that up also, because all these guys who use a ton of gear can come up and promote training methods that don't work particularly well, push them on you, and then you never reach those goals because they used gear, not the training methods, to reach your results. So you buy the program and then you buy all the products and everything else, and before long you've wasted thousands of dollars on all this stuff. They've all gotten rich and you still haven't gotten the results. And what I would say to people is, you need to step back and assess that. When you start doing things that are non-basic training or non-conventional training, and you're adding it into your routine, and I'm not saying you shouldn't sometimes, what I'm saying is you need to know why you're doing it. In other words, if there's not a good logical reason from a physiology perspective or a sport-specific perspective that says that you're personally going to get some benefit from doing this, it probably is pretty silly to do it. You're probably not going to get anything out of it. So it's important when we start doing things and we step away from proven, time-proven, decades and generations of proven training protocols that have worked for everyone from athletes and bodybuilders going all the way back to the 60s, 70s, everything else, supported by all the scientific literature, the top coaches in the world. When you start stepping away from this stuff, it's kind of important for you to step back and ask, why am I doing this? What is it that I actually expect to gain out of this? Because if it was a superior training method for everyone, not just for fixing a specific weakness, all the best coaches and lifters around the world would have probably started using it 30 years ago already, or 50 years ago. They would have already started using it if it worked better for everyone. It would be the basics. Just something for people to think out when they're looking at these things. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.